Brooke Bergstoller, and you're watching Mary J. News. The history of cannabis in America is long, sticky, and dramatic. The country's feelings towards grass over the last 2 centuries are complicated to say the least. While most of America strives to legalize marijuana in some form today, let's take a moment to break down the history of cannabis laws to see just how far we've come. Starting back in the 17th century, hemp was one of America's #1 crops. The government encouraged citizens to grow hemp for the production of rope, sails, and clothing. In fact, legislation was passed by the Virginia Assembly in 1619 that required every farmer to grow hemp. Flash forward to the 19th century, and marijuana is found in a variety of medicinal products. Then regulation came in 1906 with the Pure Food and Drug Act, which required over-the-counter remedies containing cannabis to display labels. Después de la Revolución de Mexico in 1910, a flood of Mexican immigrants moved to the United States, bringing the recreational use of marijuana with them. Thanks, Mexico! But that's when Americans turned on cannabis and started to believe it was evil. In the 1930s, prejudice and racism toward Mexican immigrants created reefer madness, and the Marijuana Tax Act in 1937 criminalized marijuana and stamped a tax on the few authorized medical and industrial uses. In 1956, shit got scary for Mary. The Narcotics Control Act set mandatory sentences for drug-related offenses, including marijuana. A first offense for possession carried a minimum sentence of 2 to 10 years with a fine of up to $20,000. Cannabis made a comeback during the hippie movement in the 1960s, however, leading to President Nixon announcing his war on drugs at the turn of the 70s. The Schaefer Commission under Nixon tried to decriminalize marijuana in 1972, and Nixon ignored the idea. Regardless, 11 states around the US decriminalized marijuana and reduced their penalties between 1973 and 1977. President Reagan was a real douche in the 1980s, though, and he brought back the unfair mandatory sentencing for drug-related crimes. If you were arrested for having 100 marijuana plants, you would receive the same penalty as someone found in possession of 100 grams of heroin, which is whack or smack, depending on how you look at it. But as public opinion on marijuana shifted in favor of legalization, we started to see states deciding for themselves again. In 1996, California passed Proposition 215, allowing the legal sale of medicinal marijuana for patients with AIDS, cancer, and other diseases. Which brings us to today. 26 states and counting have legalized marijuana in some capacity. Marijuana is still a Schedule I drug on the federal level, but as more and more states begin to normalize this plant once again, we can only hope to see national legislation in favor of our beloved herb. Here's to the future! Do you think a green-friendly America is on its way? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Brooke Bergstoller, and this is Mary J. News.